Welcome back, everyone, to A Gentleman's Life. We're going to do another watch review today. So, before we get down to that, welcome back to the show. Today, it's not coffee or tea, having some Shiner Bock again. And we're going to look at one of my Steinharts. This is the DLC Steinhart Ocean 1, essentially. It's the blacked out Ocean 1. They call it the Ocean Black DLC. But it is, as you can see, the Submariner homage style Steinhart Ocean. And that's what we're going to be looking at today. A little bit about the background about Steinhart, since this is my first Steinhart review. Actually, and if you can hear in the background, we're listening to some Buddy Guy today. So a little bit of blues. I'm just feeling a little bit bluesy today. So anyways, Steinhart is a German company, but their watches are Swiss-made in Jura, which is one of the regions where a lot of the watches get made. And they're most well known for their Rolex homages and their German World War II pilot watch homages. They have a number of original designs. The Apollon and Apollon chronograph are Steinhart original designs. The Steinhart Ocean 2 is a much more original design than the Rolex homage. It's more of like a classier, dressier diver, and it's been styled. I guess you can see little bits and pieces of a few different things. The closest relation might be the IWC Aqua Timer. But I don't really see the Aqua Timer in the Ocean 2. It's much more different than that, in my opinion. But you can see a couple design features from that, I suppose. But that's a Steinhart original. They've got the Triton, which is an original design for themselves. So there's a mixed match of different things. They have a lot of different options across the diver and pilot watch and marine-styled watches. And some are homages and some are not. But their purpose is, having talked to the owner and visited the company, their purpose is to try to make good quality Swiss watches that aren't going to break your bank, essentially. And in that, I think they are completely succeeding. So that's what the owner was trying to do, and that's what he wants to keep trying to do. I think he would like to do a little bit. And this is just my interpretation, I suppose, but I think they would like to not keep bringing out more and more homages and just kind of leave the homages as they are, other than maybe a couple they have left in their mind to do. But they'd like to focus, I think, some more on original designs going forward. So we'll see how that goes, but it's interesting. Everyone that works there, I've visited the headquarters, and everyone that works there is really, really nice and really fantastic. The owner is a great guy. I got to sit down with him. He took like 45 minutes out of his day just to sit down and talk about watches and the industry and what the company's trying to do and things like that. So really enjoyed that. Anyways, enough about that. Let's go to first person and get into the watch review itself.
So here we are, and first I'll show you how the watch is boxed up. So it comes in Steinhart's white outer box with the embossed Steinhart logo. And if you take the top off of that box, you have the flap in the inner box, and then your manuals right here. So this yellow one is just about the return policy. So that is one. The other is your pretty much your technical manual, and then you can see the manuals. It'll have in it, which watch you purchased, the movement that's in it. Everything is in both German and English. And then from there on, it has all the different movements they might use, that they have used, all the different specifications. On the back, they have it stamped and the month that you bought it. And then in here is just their actual box, and like all these Steinharts, if you pop this box open, they come packaged on here, which is really tight fit with a little tag like normal, and then they're nice cushiony foam to protect it, which you then can pull out, and you have the box. So it's a nice box, and comes packaged very well. So there's no worrying there. I mean, all of mine have made it just fine. So let's close that up and get on to the watch review itself. Put that to the side. Let me check my music, guys. Something stopped going here. Looks like I finished the Buddy Guy album. So we're going to go to some Mumford & Sons. We'll play the new Mumford & Sons album. Here we go. Alright. So on to the watch itself. First, what I'm going to do is show you the specs from the Steinhart website. And then I will show you the watch itself. So here we are with the Steinhart website, and you can see here the Ocean Black DLC. It is running the ETA 2824-2, the Elabore grade, so that's the medium grade of that movement. They use Superluminova C3, and it is DLC coated. It is the 42mm like all the other Oceans. Without the crown, it is 13 millimeters high and weighs 190 grams, so it's got a significant feel to it. There is no magnifier for the date, and the lug width is 22 millimeters. And the water resistance, like all of the Ocean ones, is 300 meters. So, on to the watch. Alright, so on to the watch itself. Here we go. So this is the Steinhart Ocean 1 line. So you can see it's styled after the Rolex Submariner. Now I purchased this one because I do want a Submariner in my collection at some point. However, I'm really satisfied with my current set of divers at the moment, and there's other things right now I'd want to get instead of the Submariner because my divers are pretty much the most significant portion of my collection at the moment. And I have a separate kind of row for my Steinharts in the box. And I'd seen the blacked out PVD Rolex Submariner, but I could never imagine spending that much money for a PVD watch. If I get a Submariner, it's going to be a vintage, 60s or 70s classically designed sub. So I could never spend that much for a blacked out watch. I've wanted a blacked out watch for a while. And this was the one that seemed, for the price point and design, to really work for me. And that's why I got this. So without further ado, let's go into the watch. 42 millimeters across, as mentioned, plus the crown. You can see the crown guards come out there. I have it with the ceramic bezel, so you can see that kind of almost liquid metal look to it. Now this, right now, is the only ceramic bezel I have. I do have, the only glossy ceramic bezel I have. My Tudor Pelagus does have a ceramic bezel. Let me turn the music down just a little bit. Alright. But this is the only glossy one. And from what I can tell from online photos, and I will be able to confirm this later with future purchases, is that, the numbers, the way the bezel is with the Steinhart, the numbers at some portion of the bezel are always hard to read. They're not cut out like you have in some other ones. They're not cut out and filled in with loom or cut out and filled in with some other material. So the numbers on the bezel can be difficult to read at times with a ceramic bezel. That is not the case with the black aluminum bezel. I got the ceramic anyways just because of that kind of liquid metal look. But just something to be aware of. As you can see here, it has the typical Submariner styled face with the triangle at the 12 o'clock, the dashes at 3 and 6, and a date at 9 and 6, and a date at the 3 o'clock, which is not magnified, which I really appreciate. Having no cyclops there. You can see the typical Mercedes styled hands, and then Steinhart on the top, and then Ocean Black, and the depth rating, automatic movement, and professional at the bottom half. Like most Submariners today, that has a lot of type at the bottom. I'm not a huge fan of that, but that's just the way they are these days. The hands and the hour markers are all filled with Superluminova C3, and then you have the white lume pip on the bezel insert. Speaking of the bezel, it does have really good action, and there is no play at all. So really, really well done. I've had a watch twice this cost that had play in the bezel. This is essentially a €400 watch, and I've had €800-900 watches that have some play in the bezel, and this does not. So really nice action, 120 click bezel, and you can see no play. So really, really well done there. So that's really well done. Let me wipe off the bezel there. Now the case is brushed on the tops along with the solid end links. You can see the brushed case there. The sides, however, are polished. And I think that gives it a nice touch, you can see my fingerprints all over it, but there we go. Nice polished sides to contrast with the brushed top. And I think that gives it a nice look. On the other side, you can see the Steinhart signed crown. If it will focus. With the blacked out, it can be harder to see. The case back has the normal Steinhart engraving on it, which you can't really see very well because it's blacked out. There you go, you can see it there. The solid end links, screw down case back. The bracelet is also brushed, as you can see here, with polished sides. It does have screw-in links, which for this price point is excellent. Sometimes you still see the push pins. The bracelet itself, I think, is pretty average and normal for the price point. It's not super, but it's not a cheap bracelet either. So it's just what you would expect from this price point. It's not wowing you, but it's not disappointing you either. And the same for the clasp. Pretty standard, It's a brushed clasp, stainless steel, polished on the insides there. When you shut it, you've got the fold-over clasp, and that is also polished. So the brushed clasp with the polished fold-over and the Steinhart logo etched into it. So pretty simple, basic clasp, but for €400, you really don't expect much more, to be honest. It doesn't feel like cheap or weak or flimsy, so that's all I can really ask at this price point from the clasp and bracelet. Been very happy with that. Now, as mentioned, the movement is the mid-grade ETA 2824, and so you unscrew the crown. It has the action you would expect from your standard ETA movement. Exactly what you would expect. I will say, even though my Omega Seamaster, it's a 2500 coaxial, but it's based off of the ETA 2824, and then they just change the escapement. I will say that there's a noticeable difference to me in winding quality and crown quality on something like the Omega Seamaster or the Tudor Pelagus, but those are $3,000 and $4,000 watches versus a $400 watch, and I don't find that to be surprising at all. So all in all, I think this is really a great watch for the money. I hesitate to call it a beater, even though that's kind of what it is. I wear this for work when I'm going out, when coaching youth sports, or just for work, with uniform or whatever. I feel like this fits very well. I don't worry about it much. And I will note one thing: a lot of people ask sometimes about the quality of DLC, coatings. What I got to tell you with Steinhart's DLC on this watch is I find it holds up to scratches better than plain stainless steel. All of my other stainless steel watches, have marks on the clasp from rubbing on the desk, and this DLC coded one doesn't. And I've worn it just as much as any of the other ones, and there's not a single mark on this clasp from the desk, like desk diving marks. So that I was actually really pleased with, because I wasn't sure. This was my first DLC watch, and I was hesitant, but I mean, you can see there's no marks at all, so really fantastic. If you're looking for that blacked out look, and you either don't want to pay Rolex money, or you're just willing to not have the name on it, which I think for a DLC watch is reasonable to assume, I would highly recommend this as an option. I also have seen some other DLCs I considered. The Squale is one I considered, but that's about almost double the cost of this one. Not quite, but right around double the cost, pretty close. I don't remember the exact cost of the PVD or DLC version of the Squale, but it's close to double the cost of the Steinhart. But I just have not found the blacked out watch that I'm willing to spend more than $1,000 on. So this is what I went with, and I've been very pleased. So let me give you, well, first, to go along with the bracelet, I also got two NATO straps with PVD hardware. Both look good with the watch. I will say this is the one I most often, this olive green colored one, is the one I wear most often when it comes to wearing it to work. I think that just looks good with a uniform. And it fits the watch almost better than the bracelet does, to be honest. It just feels more right for the watch. So that works really well if you're into wearing NATOs. This watch works great with a nice green, black, or Bond NATO with black hardware. So without further ado, let me give you a wrist shot, and then we will conclude the review and go back to the previous view. I apologize if you get noise in the microphone. I just cannot get the camera to focus on the watch. There we go. So as you can see, and as I mentioned before, my wrist is 6.5 to 6.7 inches around. It's relatively flat. So you can see even at 42 inches, the watch fits very well. The lugs are rather straight. They don't curve that much. But even so, it fits that smaller sized wrist just fine. And I think it looks really nice. So there you go. You can kind of see how the ceramic bezel catches the light, how the dome crystal looks. Turns out really well.
Well, there we are, everyone. That was my review of the Steinhart Ocean Black DLC. And some final thoughts for you on this one. If you're looking for that kind of blacked out DLC look and you just haven't found anything, or you're not sure if it's going to be a look you want as a keeper, I think this is a great watch to try it out with. If you like the look of the Submariner, Rolex Submariner style, and either can't pay the money for a Submariner or don't care about the name so much, I think this is one of your best bets as a secondary option. And especially if you're going for that blacked out look, and just are unwilling to pay that kind of money for a blacked out look, I think this would be a great one to try and see how that works for you. At 400, euros, price is not bad. Steinharts in general tend to hold most of their value if you keep them in really nice condition. The Steinhart I've sold before was the Ocean Vintage Military Ocean 1 variant, and I pretty much just about made my money back on it. And I think if I wanted to sell this one, or was going to sell this one, I'd probably get close to my money back on this one too, to be honest. So just something to think about as well. But because the blacked out look isn't for everyone. But if it is, and you're on a budget, or you just don't care about the name, this is a great option, and it gets my stamp of approval. So moving forward from here, I have some videos planned out. I think my next watch reviews, I'm going to slowly go through my 4-watch sub-collection of my Steinharts and review each of those. And I plan on doing a couple of another kind of series, if you will. One's going to be a $40 versus $400 watch. So I'm going to take a $40 Timex and compare it to the $400 Hamilton khaki and kind of show you the difference of what you get for your money. And then I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to do a $400 watch versus a $4,000 watch, and that's when I'm going to compare this again. Actually, I'm going to compare this to my Tudor Pelagus and show you the difference in what you get for $400 to $4,000. I'm just going to show you kind of what to expect money-wise if you're looking at making these variations in cost. I also, when my new Christopher Ward Trident GMT comes in, I'm going to do kind of a different take on a review with that one. I'm going to do a comparison, essentially, from the first edition of the Christopher Ward Trident GMT to now the second edition. Kind of compare and contrast and see the differences before I sell the first edition. And I have some other non-watch related videos I plan on bringing up, coming up with soon as well. So I hope you all enjoyed this video, and I look forward to bringing more videos to you. Until next time.